As a parent, one of the hardest things we have to contend with is technology and our kids. That in the outside world, right? Because let's be honest, none of it's all that safe. Finding technology that is safe and can help our kids feel safe and us feel safe is like the holy grail, right? Well, if your kid is old enough and is out there wandering around and you want to kind of start introducing them to technology and how to use it responsibly, smartwatch might be a great idea. This is the TickTalk 5. I've reviewed the TickTalk 3 and the TickTalk 4, and their latest iteration is easily their best one yet. And there's a lot of good reasons why you should consider a kid's smartwatch, and particularly maybe one like the TickTalk 5. Let's get into all the details of this. I'll tell you everything about how the app works, about the features of the watch, the good, the bad, and whether this is something you should consider for your child. So stick around.
Okay, let's go.
Hi, I'm Chris with Gadgets and Gravel. So, right out of the gate, I was sent this watch for review purposes and for testing. However, neither TickTalk nor the PR agency will get any insight into the video, its contents, or see it before you will. So they'll see it the first time as soon as it goes live, just alongside you. So with that out of the way, I've got two kids. I've got two boys, 9 and 12. Here in a couple months, they're going to be 10 and 13. It's crazy to me to think that I'll have no children in single digits, but moving on. So they've had the I guess the benefit and the curse of having a dad in the industry that I am in. So that means as someone who works a lot of technology in a lot of different ways, it's obviously going to trickle down into kids. And I'm excited to be a part of that because I want to make sure that my kids are safe. And if I can do that for my kids, I want to find out if I can help you and your children as well. So with the TickTalk 5, the good thing about having a smartwatch like this, there are tons of smartwatches on the market for kids. Like, if you go on Amazon, you're gonna find a lot that have cellular connectivity and all things like that. It's very important, just as it is with yourself, but more so with children, is making sure that what you get is safe and secure and is being properly regulated, and the information that is sent to it and sent from it is stayed safe and secure. So having a reputable brand is definitely important, and TickTalk is one that is reputable. Now I say TickTalk, it is TickTalk, T-I-C-K-T-A-L-K, not TikTok as in the app, social media app. So just make sure we're clear on that. But TickTalk's been doing this a while. Like I said, I've done the 3, 4, and now the 5. And the cool thing with TickTalk is they do a good job of finding ways to make the watches interesting for kids while giving you the features that you want as a parent. So let's kind of talk a little bit about the design of the watch and what you can expect from something like this for your kid and your family. So the TickTalk 5 comes in a bunch of different colors. This is the white one, obviously. It is a little bit of a thick. It's kind of a chunky watch. It's got a good sized battery inside of it. I'll make sure I put all the specifications up on the side of the screen here so you can see all that information, but it's got a good battery. It makes it all day long. My kid has been wearing it now for about a month now, I guess. Never had an issue with it not making it through the day. So that's been great. We live out in the country. A lot of the areas we travel to doesn't have great reception. And so if you don't have good reception, it's going to be a drain on the battery. So it's done well getting around the different places that we visit. So good thing there. Thick chunky watch, good battery life. It has got pretty decent reception. Like I said, we don't have good cell coverage in most areas I live around, but it still does a pretty good job of latching on. It does have Wi-Fi as well, so if you're in a place with Wi-Fi, you can connect to Wi-Fi and use that for communications in that way as well. Nice rubber strap. It isn't, it's replaceable through TickTalk, but it is kind of bolted on into a specific shape and bent down, so it helps it fit on little wrists a little more comfortably. Plastic casing, nothing fancy as far as the build. You do have 2 buttons on the side, so you're gonna have your power button, which is also just turns the screen on and off, and this red button, which can be programmed to be an emergency call to dial 911 or an emergency contact, but it's also the back button to go back in the screens. You can also swipe through it as well. Color touch screen, it's got pretty good reception. Pretty good resolution in it. It's pretty clear. It does fine outside. Some watch faces can do better than others as far as brightness goes and be able to see everything on it, but it does okay. It does have a front-facing camera on the top. So one change between the 4, which is right here. This is the 4. It's chunkier. Like if you think the 5 is thick, the 4 is really thick. But the 4 actually swapped. It had a camera on the top of the watch and also one front-facing. So they got rid of the secondary camera. My guess is it just wasn't getting used as much, and it's a little bit of cost savings and a way to get the device a little bit smaller. But you can see we're talking significant shrinkage in the watch size overall, but it still maintains good battery life. We've also got, like I said, we got Wi-Fi. It's also got Bluetooth and GPS built into it, so you can connect to a Bluetooth headset and listen to music and do phone calls, things like that. And the GPS is helping with locating the watch, is also helping for parent tracking. So if you need to find your kid, the GPS is great. We'll go into more of that a little bit further down when we talk about the app. But that's kind of it with the watch. The backside, there is a little door here where the SIM card goes in. It's got a little screw to keep it closed. And then you've got the pin spot on the back, a little recess there for charging. So it does charge wirelessly. Got a fun little dock here. The dock isn't necessary, it's just kind of nice, but it's just got this cable here with magnetic in and 2 pins that line up, stick to it, and charge it up. The dock's so nice. When it's on the charger, it can show a clock, so your kid can have a little clock on their bedside or counter, wherever you would decide to charge the device up at. The one thing I do want to mention though, and I'll talk a little more about later, is careful with the charging. There are some issues you could run into with that, and I'll talk about that later in a different section. But that's the watch design. It's a pretty simple watch. It's, like I said, it is thick, but it's easy for kids to get to those buttons. The screen is large enough to see what you need to do, but it's still a good size. For small fingers, it's plenty big. So maybe a little more difficult for my big fingers, but kids do fine with it. So let's talk about a lot of the features we got with this thing and what we can get out of it. I want to start off talking about the experience on the watch and the software on the watch before we talk about the app and what the parents can expect on their end. So on the watch itself, you got your home screen. So there are apps on it. When I say there's apps, there are things like calling, video call, messaging, photo gallery, and things like that. So you're not going to have a bunch of distracting apps. There's no games on it, things like that. There's no access to like the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, any of that stuff. It's just strictly what's on the watch, and it's all been pre-approved. It's all locked down, and you have complete control over the access to the apps on the watch from different times, for how long, what they can and can't get to. So you get control over all that. Like I said, software on the watch, it's pretty simple and easy to use. Obviously, you don't want it to be too complex for kids. There's timers, stopwatches, things like that, reminders. There is a step tracker, so it doesn't have any like fitness, heart rate tracking, like that, but it does do step tracking. It's not very accurate. My kid was talking about, even he knew at 9 years old, he was like, this is not right. I did not take 50,000 steps today. So it's not very accurate. It counts steps very easily. He'll be riding in the car and get 1,000 steps. So take that for what it's worth. You can still set a goal. He was going for 1 million steps at the end of a week. So it's kind of a fun number to play with. But the other app on here that's kind of fun is it does have iHeartRadio Family for free on here. So that means that your child can access kid-safe music and stream it. You can lock it to how long it can stream, whether it streams only over Wi-Fi or data. As far as the data goes, cell plan, you can use pretty much any carrier. Get just an MVNO, something like a Metro PCS, Visible. There's a lot out there. I use Red Pocket is one brand that I've used for a long time. Pretty inexpensive pretty inexpensive service, and they work with all different carriers. You can get SIM cards that'll work on AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon, so whichever is best for your area. You just pay monthly. It's a pretty simple deal. But that's it. Like navigating around, the kid can only call the contacts that you allow, so you'll set that up in the app, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. They can only call those people, they can only message those people, and reverse. So only those people can message them, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to worry about them getting random messages or people accessing your child's watch without your permission. So let's jump into what the Parents app looks like. One of the most important things when it comes to a kid's device is the security and the privacy. And as the parent, you need to have complete control of that as much as possible as far as what is going on with the watch when it's connected to the internet. That is where things can go south quickly. And so you need a good app to do that. And the TickTalk app is pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's not too confusing. It's pretty clear on what parts do what within the app. And so let's walk through that real quick. Let's scooch this way a little bit and put the screen up over here so you guys can watch that and see kind of what it looks like inside the app. So once you get in here, you're gonna load it up and you're gonna start off and it's gonna show you the location of the watch. That's the first thing you're gonna see and where it is at. So that's kind of nice. It shows you that right way. And the last time it was updated, you can manually force a location and it'll go there. You can choose how frequently it pings the location and resets it. The more often it searches for the location and reports back, the more battery you use on the watch. So just keep that in mind. There's also, you can set up live tracking as well. You can kind of see a history of where all they've been. You can pin and see where you're at in location to them on the map for like that. Like, so you got a tracking, you can start a live track. for how long and how often it will ping. So those are really nice there as well. Then we get into our parent portal. So inside of here is where you get to go through and adjust the different settings in the app. So you can go through, set up the contacts in here. As far as what can be contacted, you can set the different levels of, I guess, administration ability, so whether they can make changes within the app as well. So when you add app users, you can do that as well, so they can access the app, and you can set them as full access or just a custodian, so they can do, it just reduces the amount of changes that they can make. So that's really nice. You got do not disturb, so times when the watch won't get active, won't be able to get calls or notifications or access apps, so you can set those up. Set up a time from their home in the evening, set one up for school if you'd like. Greeting cards are kind of fun. They're just kind of goofy little things. You can I'll randomly get a Happy Father's Day card in the middle of the week in March or something, so that's kind of fun. Adding friends nearby, so if there are other friends who have a TickTalk watch, they can kind of communicate with each other within a certain range, so that's really fun there as well. Face Talk settings, so this is where you're gonna do video calling. You can set that up so it only works over Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi and cellular. Create a password on the watch, so if it gets lost, they have to have the password to be able to access it and do anything. You got your Wi-Fi connect options there. You can create custom responses, so your kid can have custom preset messages to reply to you, so you can set those up however you'd like. T-Cloud is the backup, so you can have it back up the watch. So if you lose it or change watches, you can re-upload those. You got block texts, call logs, remote control. Here's where you can turn the watch off or reboot it if you need to. If it's not acting correctly, you can reboot it from remotely. Resets, you can block numbers, dial pads. So if you want to have them, allow them to be able to dial numbers, you can turn that on and shut that off. So you got all sorts of different ways you can manage the watch, and it's really, really, really nice. In the app, so this is just kind of general app setting stuff. You can go through and set up different things for your own personal preferences there. And then that's kind of it. Calling is going to give you your different options to call. Remote answer is kind of unique. I haven't seen this on any other watches. And so basically what this is you're basically going to call the watch and answer it from your phone. So then you would be allowed to hear what's going on. So if your child is in trouble or something like that, and they can't talk, they send a quick message, help, you could call in that way and it doesn't ring, it just immediately answers the call, so you can actually hear what's going on and maybe help them from there. There's that. Messaging is we're going to see all your different messages. Again, those are, if you get a message from your child, it's going to show up within the app if you're using the app, and if you're just an added contact, it'll show up just like a regular SMS message. And you get reminders, which are nice because you can set up things to keep the kid on task, make sure they don't get confused on what they're supposed to be doing. But that's really it. The app is relatively simple. It doesn't have a whole lot of crazy features to it. It's really simple boiled down. You don't need a whole lot going on. You need to make sure that you can secure the watch, your child's only talking to who they're supposed to, and you can find them if you need them, right? That's all we need. And that's what the app does. It does a good job with all that. So let's go into some of the things I would like to see improved on the TickTalk 5, and if that's gonna be something that they can actually do. Well, the TickTalk 4 is my oldest son's favorite watch, and the TickTalk 5 is my youngest son's favorite watch he's tested so far. As a parent, we're a little more discerning, a little more curious and suspicious, and have a little stronger needs for our watch and devices that our kids are using. And with the TickTalk 5, it's a great watch. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things I like about it. But one of the things that I really wish that was improved is geofencing. Being able to create an area around a zone, so if your child enters or leaves that area, that's one thing that is missing. And I would like to see that improved. Being able to have just basically make a fence around an address or around a park or something like that, so if the watch comes or goes from that area, is really helpful. And that's one of the features that's missing. I would like to see get added to the TickTalk 5 or TickTalk 6. It has the GPS and has the Wi-Fi and the cellular, so it's possible. It's a software update, and it's something that I've mentioned to TickTalk in the past, and it's just still isn't here, and I like to see that added. Obviously, I'd like to see the watch a little thinner, but if that's at the discount of having long battery life, leave it thick. It's a kid's watch. Doesn't have to look sleek and everything like adults care about. This is so that your child can be in contact. And well, there are other watches for older kids, younger kids, it's not as big of a deal. So it needs to be thick, durable, have great battery life. Like, it needs to survive everything this watch can. So I'm okay with it being thick. The software is easy to use. I don't have any issues with that either. So across the board, like, I don't have a whole lot of problems with it. Just mainly the geofencing is the main big feature I'd like to see come to this. As a parent, that's one of the things I'd like to have. Being able to actively track my kid is great, but the passive sort of thing where I can just make sure they come and go out of a certain area would be helpful. So otherwise, it's pretty solid. Video calling's good. Yeah, let's wrap this up. I know it can be nerve-wracking giving your kid a cell phone. They're easy to lose. You know, got to keep them charged up. They get distracted on them easily. There's apps and this and that. And there are kid smartphones that are safe for kids. I've tested, reviewed many of those, and those are great options. But sometimes it can be confusing with a watch, especially if a younger child, because they see us on a phone and they mimic the same thing. And sometimes we're not setting the best examples. And so a watch is a great idea because then you don't have to worry about them losing it. It's just on them. It's there. Easy to contact them. Easy for them to get a hold of you. So that's why I really like doing a kid smartwatch for younger kids. And the TickTalk 5 is a great option. I would say this is probably maybe 7 years old, probably closer to 8, in that probably 7 to 12 age range. Once they get 12, 13-ish, maybe the design may be too chunky for them and too kid-like or something like that. But it's a great watch for that age range because it has all the features they're going to want. They're getting to the point where they're going to be creative and want to take pictures and stuff like that. Getting silly pictures and random videos and happy Father's Day cards from my kids. It's just kind of fun. But the peace of mind is what's great also, is being able to knowing that I can look out on the app and I can make sure I can see where they are. I can make a phone call to them if I need to, sending them messages here and there. It all works really well. And TickTalk has that figured out nicely. The iHeartRadio Kids, iHeartRadio Family is a great feature. Kids love it. You can connect it to a Bluetooth speaker or kid-safe headphones. Make sure you get kid-safe headphones. But it's a fun feature. It's great stuff for the kids to be able to play with. Makes them feel more grown up and more in control. So yeah, definitely recommend the TickTalk 5. It's a fun watch. If geofencing isn't something that is important to you, be able to create an area zone where they can come and go and be notified. You still got your location tracking and all that good stuff. That all works really, really well with this. So stick around. I've got tons more products coming up. I've got a robot lawnmower. I got robot vacuums still in the works. I've got camping gear. I've got some summer survival gear as it is boiling hot still. So stick around. Gadgets and Gravel, we've got tons of stuff coming up. Thanks for watching.
Okay, let's go.